Atlanta, so would you believe me that YACHIRU Unohana and a few other characters have technically just gotten better due to a bug in the most recent update? Which is kind of crazy to say because YACHIRU as a character has been one of the best characters since her release almost 2 years ago. Despite the power creep that we have been getting, she's kind of standing against the test of times. And if I ever was to do a Brave Souls Mount Rushmore, I feel like she's one of the more recent characters that deserves a spot in that group. But what exactly has happened and how has this character technically gotten better? Well, the issue itself surrounds our most recent update with version 16.4, and essentially what happened is that ever since version 16.4, the Havoc skill, which increases the range of your strong attacks by 20%, was incorrectly being applied to the status element trap techniques. So as a result, the trap effect got larger, but was not reflected by the visuals because again, it was kind of a bug. It wasn't intended. However, instead of reverting that, and it's not like anyone ever found out, by the way, I didn't see anyone talk about this, given the circumstance, right? And going forward, Caleb are now just going to allow status element traps to be affected by the Havoc skill effects. So if you were now to use a character with the trap effect and they have the Havoc skill, you will notice quite the large increase of the effect itself as it is now getting increased by 20%. And in a way, this is for the most part a buff. All the characters themselves are still going to play the same, it just makes the trap effect a bit better as it does cover more range and also allows it to be more consistent in how quick it can affect the enemies with the status procs. And if you do want to see a before and after effect, left is before the most recent update, and right is what we currently have reflected with today's update. Again, quite the big increase, right? I know for content like Guild Quest, for example, a character like YACHIRU is still used to this day as either a side or a lead. Personally, I use it as the lead, especially in the melee captain Guild Quests. And there are times where, you know, even though I didn't think about it, having that extra 20% increase on the trap itself would have actually made clearing the quest a lot faster and again, more consistent when it comes to inflicting the weakening. And it seems like this update just happened more so because of Mayuri coming out. He is one of the new characters that is going to have the trap SA free again once more, making it in total 5 characters with this strong attack. And I just think it's cool that every character with the trap effect, assuming you have Havoc, is going to be affected by this. In a way, this could have been a way for Caleb to, you know, power creep current trap characters by making new ones have larger range. But again, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, if we do have a look at all the current characters that do have the trap strong attack, as of right now, there's only 5. There will be 6 with the new Mayuri. It's kind of a rarity. I mean, it got introduced 2 or so years ago. It comes back every now and then. Nowadays, to be fair, it's kind of been resorted as a Guild Quest ability because the effect itself is quite a stationary thing. It can't move and it's best used when the room itself is relatively small. But you know, even outside of Guild Quest, it does have its benefits of being able to remove any status element pulls on the floor, and that makes it really good for like Senkaman content, for example. And more so just a more easy way to inflict status elements, especially when you don't have career advantage. Because nowadays, the new characters that we do get, every character can reliably inflict status elements, but it is to a certain killer type, or it's to a certain attribute. The trap effect is a universal status increase. Anyone that walks on it is likely going to get procced with that status element. For Mayuri, the first character to introduce it, he was able to inflict paralysis and also poison. For YACHIRU, of course, she can inflict weakening. Toshiro can inflict freeze. Soifon, maybe quite the forgettable character, but she does actually have this strong attack. She can inflict paralysis. You're kind of seeing a trend, to be fair. A lot of characters can inflict paralysis with this trap effect. Paralysis or freeze are the more common ones. Before that, Basby was our most recent character. He can inflict burn. Of course, it's Basby, it makes sense. And then again, the new Mayuri can inflict paralysis. I'd say the 3 big winners are the ones that are still reliably being used, especially for Guild Quest content. So YACHIRU, Mayuri, and also Basby are the biggest winners here, because all 3 of them are used in Guild Quest, and they are some of the best characters for their respective phases. And I'd say YACHIRU, in a way, excels more because she's actually a fun character to use more than the others, in my opinion. I'm biased. This is such a cool character. And YACHIRU, as a unit, doesn't have an increased status chance like the other characters. So she relies more on that trap effect, and now, with the more range, she's more likely to inflict weakening. And in a way, I'm kind of excited to try it out once more in Guild Quest whenever the melee Soripa or melee Captain Guild Quest does return. And it's always funny, in my opinion, when a bug in the game ends up resulting in the character getting better. And funny enough, this isn't the first time this has happened. The last time this did happen in a similar situation was when Akon released. And what happened is that this character, accidentally had a team up party boost that increased speed character strong attack by 20%. This skill here was never listed in the character's skill announcement, and he wasn't supposed to have it. But when this bug was made aware, more so by Caleb, they were the ones that, announced it. Kind of similar in this situation. I don't think anyone realized it. They just made this skill permanent, which I think is really cool, because it actually made him one of the best supports in the entire game. And new characters nowadays that are releasing are kind of trying to be what Akon essentially kickstarted, even if it was unintentional. And ultimately with Akon, the reason why they did give him this skill is because if they didn't, it would have resulted in him technically being nerfed, and therefore a full orb refund would have been warranted. Kind of similar to the Kisuke situation, where this character unintentionally had a guaranteed status proc once the SP boost was active, and by removing that, it made the character worse, and that's why they refunded people's orbs. So I guess for future reference too, if a character ever gets nerfed by a fix, by a bug, if the character is more powerful than they were initially announced to be, for example, and that fix results in them being nerfed, that's when an orb refund is warranted. If a character releases and underperforms, a recent example of that was this character here. His SA2 was basically dealing half the damage. Most of the community, when using this character, found out, and as a result, when it got fixed, the character got better, and everyone got 25 orbs if you did own the character. So I guess a little tangent aside, but if you ever were wondering how Caleb do handle refunds in terms of bugged character releases, if a bug in the character's release ends up making the character better than intended, and the idea is that people summon with that potential bug as a feature, once that's fixed, it warrants a refund. And the only character thus far that ever had that was this unit, because he was better than he was supposed to be. But when a character underperforms and gets better once the bug has been solved, then it's just 25 spirit orbs. And for the case with this update, no character was bugged. Characters just now have more range on their trap effects. So pretty cool stuff. Even if little, just more range on the trap effect, I would never say no, and I would never complain about one of my favorite character releases of all time getting better. That, of course, being this absolute powerhouse of a unit. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Take care and peace.